if you have any constructive critiques, especially negative ones, about this game that we're working on, please go ahead and leave it in the comments below. You can also email us, GameSoupLP@gmail.com, if you want to do it privately. And we would really appreciate any kind of feedback that you have at all. All right, hit record, Ed.
Hi.
My name's Joe.
My name is Edward.
This is episode 4 of DEVLOG for
Game
3
3
of GameSoup LLC's Game 3. It's a Metroidvania. It has elements of Metroid and Vania, and it also has a level up system, which we're going to discuss here. So what we can do is we are using our puzzle grid system here, and we have this grid over here, right? Mm-hmm. And what we can do is we can take these puzzle pieces and we can place them into the grid. Now, we've got this one called Scrambler. Increases attack damage by 20%. You can slam that on in there,
Just
right?
slam it.
So now we have this benefit, and you can see in the bottom left corner it says attack 0.2, and that means our attack is increased by 0.2, aka 20%.
By 20%, right. Right.
And we're going to put the heart in here, right? Heart, HP max, 10. So the definition, the description of the item that we have highlighted, the puzzle piece that we have highlighted here, no genic reach, increases maximum HP by 10. And it's got some flavor text down there. Mm-hmm. And then this one, Scrambler, also has some flavor text. So we decided, we came up with the puzzle grid system because, well, Ed and I are just big fans of Tetris.
That's not even...
No, that's not exactly it. But we thought it was a unique and interesting idea. Now, we're probably going to do this in the final game. We both like the idea, and we haven't seen anything else quite like it. Is there anything else like it? Let us know in the comments, or anything else even close. Let us know in the comments. But
it's the same way that Mega Man Battle Network hadn't had anything like it until what was that game called? Eden. One Step from Eden came out like last month.
Can we increase the size of our grid here?
We sure can. Just close your eyes for just a minute.
Okay.
And I have to remember what key it is that actually does it, so this will be interesting. There you go, sir.
Okay,
there
so
you
we
go.
just opened up the entire grid.
So this is going to be over the entire course of the game.
Yeah, during the course of the game, we're going to be starting the character, or starting the player with probably 2x2, what you saw initially. Four squares worth of the puzzle grid opened up. We might start with them with something maybe like 2x3, so 6 squares. We haven't decided exactly yet, but probably at the end of the game it's going to be 5x5. We decided on the size of the grid. So right now we have these pieces already accessible, and we can place them pretty much wherever we want on the grid. We have plenty of space for the pieces that we have available. So we've got Thermal Repeater, reduces the cooldown of attacks by 5%. That essentially increases your DPS.
Mm-hmm. And we hope not to have any boring abilities. Like this one in particular is not boring because it changes the way that you play the game.
Right,
but
yeah, it changes the attack of the...
But like very simple numerical changes, like reduces cooldown or increases run speed. Like we'll probably have those for now, but I would feel like a failure if those were the things that we relied on in the final version of the game, because that is so uninteresting, and I think everybody can do better than that. Same reason.
I think that they should be in. I think that they should be in the game, because they're easier to understand for players. There's something that they can grasp onto. I don't think everything should be something crazy and weird, some kind of a crazy weird effect. I think you need to have something to grasp onto, such as hit point increase and damage increase.
I think there's a middle ground there, because remember, having something to grasp onto is the same argument that you would use to say, I think it's okay to have skeletons, bats, slimes, and spiders in my game because it's important for players to be able to grasp onto those.
You can have skeletons, maybe.
No,
maybe just pick one.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
If you need your player to grasp onto something,
that's more of an aesthetic, though. You're comparing aesthetics to actual mechanics.
Right.
There's a difference between those two.
But I mean, okay, yeah. Probably at least starting out, we'll probably have something similar. Yeah, like you said, something that sort of anchors your expectations, but then it is my goal to blow those expectations away as you sort of pick up, like, for example, this first block. It increases your maximum HP by 10.
Yeah, I think beginning with that is okay. Beginning with something boring, because we're teaching them about a new system.
Right.
We're teaching them about the puzzle grid. So if the first few that you get, or the first 2 that you get at least, are something that just increases your attack power and increases your hit points, I think that's perfectly fine. But yeah, having more interesting things, such as changing the trajectory of your attack, are important. Now, we might want to limit because this is essentially just a different weapon.
It is.
So if you want to combine, it's going to get really complicated to combine, for instance, traveling along the ground with another kind of attack, maybe an attack that does a triple attack.
Right.
That wouldn't make much sense to be able to combine those two. So you might have to limit the number. Maybe you could only have one equipped at a time that changes your weapon to essentially a different weapon. You should probably only have one of those be allowed to be equipped at a time.
But we'll see how that goes. I mean, they already have an opportunity cost in the size of the block, so it's very possible that that those two blocks will just never fit together in that grid. So it's not even an issue of what happens if the player does this, because it's not possible for them to do that.
Yeah, we could just design those blocks to be really irregularly shaped so that you cannot combine them with other blocks.
And we want there to be some ridiculously shaped, incredibly powerful blocks that necessarily limit you in other things that you can do.
Yeah.
So that's why I say, like, I want...
Yeah, that's the idea, that the build of the game...
I want them to get crazy. Absolutely crazy nutso.
Yeah, that the build of the character is limited by the size and the shape of the puzzle grid. You can only do a certain amount of things. You can't put all of your puzzle pieces onto the puzzle grid at once. So all of our attacks are traveling along the ground, which sometimes is a disadvantage because you can't fire diagonally or up or down. You can only fire straight and along the ground. But it gives you piercing, and you can throw it off of a ledge down onto an enemy.
And this is something that might not even end up in the final version of the game, because you run into situations where, like, a switch will be on the ceiling, and then what do you do? Right. Well, I mean, your first instinct is probably just not to have a switch on the ceiling, which is also a good solution. But this was just sort of a thing to sort of throw into the vertical slice to experiment with different playstyles. And now we have our second.
So we picked that up, but I think we already had.
We already had one.
Yeah, we already had it in our inventory, but we were supposed to gain it here when we picked up that item there.
So
I'm gonna unequip the buzzsaw though.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm just gonna press B and unequip it.
And also, you're not really allowed to change equipment anywhere. What we're expecting is you can only change equipment at save points. So you can only change the configuration of this grid at save points to prevent you. I mean, it feels really crappy to play a game where you can change equipment anywhere, because then you're just micromanaging.
Yeah. It breaks up the action of the game. If there is an optimal setup to be using in a certain situation in a game, you're gonna have to pause the game, switch out to it, and then unpause the game, and then use it, and then switch back to whatever you had before.
For example, Final Fantasy XII, when enemies are about to cast, like, disable or stop or poison, it's an absolutely valid technique to go into pause the game, go into your inventory, equip all your characters with accessories that prevent that particular status effect, wait for the attack to play out, and then go back into your menu and undo those things. Like, because you do have the option to change equipment anywhere. So
my philosophy is that the player should be spending the least amount of time in the menus. They should be in the menus at the time where it feels right to be in the menus, which is usually at a save point, a resting point. You don't want to be in the menus during the middle of action, an action sequence in the game, which is pretty much all the space between save points in our game. So we have all of the abilities in the game activated right now, but we would not have what's called the downward slam here, but we have it activated right now. So I'm just going to show it here. You can smash through this block here, and there's going to be some kind of a secret item in here or some kind of treasure that you're not going to be able to get until you come all the way back here after you get the downward slam from outside the tutorial area and come back in. So we just wanted to show, this is a typical Metroidvania trope, is that you can see something early in the game that you can't touch, and then later on you get the ability that allows you to come back and get it later. So that's what we're doing here.
But
so
you might have also noticed in the very first room of the game, there may or may not have been something very similar that you can see but not reach. I love stuff like that, man. I love stuff that you can see but not reach. Like, for me, that's girls. I can see them, but I can never touch them. You know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean. I don't say things like that. So the tile sets here, I just glossed right over that. So the tile sets here, we've got the essentially, did we talk about this already in this version of the devlog?
I think so. How there's X's?
Yeah, how there's X's in
there?
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Let's just assume that we did. And if we didn't, give the TLDR.
Our tile sets only have 13 tiles because the tile sets may not even make it into the final game, so I didn't want to draw 47 tiles.
Right.
That's what you need to do to have a full tile set. You need to draw essentially 47 tiles.
Meet my acquaintances. Blaze. Blazer. Blazer. You just picked up Blazer, which I think you already had.
Let's check.
Actually, no, you did not.
Increases movement speed. Well, there's really no reason not to equip that.
That is true.
Where does it fit? I don't know. Can you help me with this
I
puzzle,
don't know.
Ed?
I actually don't know if that is even functional right now, because I probably made it with the expectation that it would not work, that it would not be in the final version of the game. So
I feel like I'm about 5% faster.
you think?
Yeah.
You think if you had to guess, you'd say about 5% faster than normal?
Yeah.
That's incredibly accurate.
And you know what I think it's time for right now?
What? Hey, look at that! We've got a little map system here. We've also added the mini map since the last devlog on the main screen, but this is more or less the system that we're going to be using. Of course, none of this art is final. I don't know how these rooms are going to end up looking, but it's accurate down to room transitions. We also have, which you do not see here, differently colored transition for secret areas, for hidden rooms, as well as save points and warp points. I mean, it's a map.
And you can see the player is 1-for-1 indicated where the map where they are on the map.
Right. I don't know if we'll run into problems with that later, but so far it's worked out okay.
Yeah, it doesn't just show you what room you're in. A lot of Metroidvanias will just show you what room you're in, especially older ones.
For example,
but this one shows you exactly where you are in the room, and also the mini map does the same thing in real time.
Now, one of the problems I've already run into is that the transitions between rooms are not 1-for-1. So if there's a transition on the right side of a room, it will always show up in the center on the map room. It'll always show up in the center right area. So they're not 1-for-1. So you can't just look at a map and tell where to go to exit the room. You're going to actually have to work at that one. But I would rather display the entrances and exits to each room, even if they're not accurate.
Yeah, they're not 100% accurate.
Yeah,
right? But
and
they're pretty close.
I feel like they don't need to be 100% accurate.
No.
Because you're not, at that point, you're just creating a completely detailed map for the player to look at, instead of a reference, which is what the mini-map is supposed to be. Hey, you nerd. Totally normal merchant at your service. Buy my junk. What?
You know, some of the artwork is reused from older GameSoup games.
Right. I meant treasures. They're definitely treasures. Highly valuable. Come see for yourself.
So, we press X and we'll talk to the guy.
Well, if it's in the best little fire on this rock, well, next to me, of course. What can I do for you?
So there is one thing that we can buy. Do we have enough cash for it?
It's called Blazer Ice.
Is our cash displayed anywhere right now?
It should be, but I don't think it is. So
we have enough though, I think, to buy it.
We do, because you can see that little wheel spinning right there. Okay, you got it.
So we bought it.
There you go. So you just hold down the button till that circle fills up, and then we've magically bought the thing, which is called Blazer Ice.
Increases movement speed by 8%, stacks with other similar abilities. Okay, so we can increase our movement speed.
Now, do you feel, and we can even see it says MS13. Do you feel 13% faster now?
Movement speed 13. Yeah.
Do you?
I do.
Okay.
I think I do actually. Well, we can test it out.
Let's just assume it works.
You should probably know. You should probably know this, but let's test it out.
Okay.
All right. Let's go like this and this, and then. How fast do you feel right now? How fast does this look? I don't know. It feels pretty fast. Let's try it with these equipped. And obviously this menu screen is going to change quite a bit.
Right.
Between now and probably the next couple of devlogs. But do you feel 13% faster? I actually don't. I don't.
I was going to say that I do this time.
You do?
Yeah. So we'll see.
Well, we're in disagreement here.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting closer to the end of the tutorial here, so not too bad. So this is another wide open room. I think this one maybe is supposed to have some enemies in it.
There is supposed to be something in here, yeah.
Yeah. Did we talk? Yeah, we talked about the tile sets. Why the X's? The X's are there because those are tiles that actually don't exist, and we're going to draw final art for any of these spaces that the tile sets won't work. These are going to have completely original, unique art for this particular piece of architecture here. So the X's will not be there in the final version. We got another save point here. Speaking of which, though, maybe is this a decent place? This might be a decent place to look at tile sets.
Sure.
Yeah. Why don't you switch the tile set for me, Ed? So we made 5 different tile sets. This is the Sky Zone tile set. Hit the next one. And this is what's called the Cathedral Zone tile set. Now this one, probably we might not. We might use this one sparingly if we use it at all in the final game. But this is the reason why we made the tile sets was for in development. We want to have all of the areas have some kind of artwork in them. We want them to have to look like something, so it's just not gray boxes for gameplay. So any area that doesn't have finished art yet is going to have this for a long time through beta testing, essentially, until we finalize what the areas look like. Because we don't want to waste a lot of time. I don't want to waste a lot of time making final art, final platform and architecture art for rooms just to have them need to be changed later, right? So it doesn't make sense to be making final art for level designs that turn out to be not optimal or to be not fun, is more importantly. So what we have is tile sets for each zone for right now. So do you want to change me to show another tile set here? We can see this is, well, we can talk about this one. This is just the base. This is essentially the what would you call it? The template. This is the tile set template for what we have. So the one with the X, yeah, so the X's are on all of them. And then this is for what we call the moon zone. You go to the moon in the game. So we've got pretty basic tile set here. Now the craters, I mean, they all look the same, but this one's probably one of the closer ones to what the final moon zone will look like in the game.
Just with less regular repetition.
Yeah, and won't have so much repetition of the craters.
Is there another one?
Yeah, there's at least one more. Yeah.
Oh,
then we've got, this was actually the first one that I did. This one's for what we call the igneous zone. This is supposed to be kind of like igneous rock, but you can see this. I mean, this really repeats a lot.
Right.
Now we could combat this by making multiple center pieces or multiples of any of the pieces. Multiple versions of each piece, and it would randomly choose between the two of them. However, you can't make really big swirls, for instance. You can only make little pieces of art within a 64 by 64 square when you're working with tile sets. So it really is limiting to the art, and it's not something that we want to be using a lot in the final game. And this, I don't know if this is even going to look that good compared to the rest of the game if we're going to use it at all, but for the time being and during development, we're going to be using a lot of these tile sets. So you're going to see these a lot coming up. I think there's one more.
Nope.
One more. Yeah, next one. There's one more.
No, we just saw
this one.
Oh, right.
Yeah, this is for the final zone of the game.
No spoilers.
It doesn't really give away too much about the game. It's a pretty basic mute colored gray tone kind of an area. That's all I'm really gonna say about it. There's not really, and there's some arrows on there.
Right.
There's not really too much to say about it. So I guess just go back to the sky zone.
But what do the arrows mean, Joe? What do they mean?
They're telling you where to go.
Oh.
All right. So we'll go back to the basic one. Not the basic one. This is the sky zone.
And this is a challenge room,
this
right?
This is a challenge room. We're going to lock the player in here. There's probably going to be some fall through platforms, and we're just going to send a few waves of enemies at the player, and we're going to teach them that there are challenge rooms in the game. You have to beat all the enemies in the room, and then the doors open, and you can get out. I like those. Do you?
I love them. There were a bunch in Minoria. That was a difficult game, sir, and
Hellish.
incredibly difficult. Yes. So they won't be that difficult, but well, they will be challenging, appropriately so.
So the first one, probably not that challenging.
No.
But we'll call it a challenge room anyway, just so that you feel good about beating it. So this guy, I was trying to come up with a way to make some enemies that would be fun to draw, that wouldn't take as much time as making really complex designs for characters. So you can see he's basically just one color. He's basically just this purple color. And he's kind of amorphous in a way. Like when he lands, you can see he's kind of squishy, and he's got these circles following him, which actually that took a long time to figure out how to animate those properly. But the reason, I was thinking that a lot of the enemies in the game could be of this, I don't know if I want to say a race or this type of creature that is, kind of this amorphous animal. And this is the first of those of that type. I drew a couple hundred different really rough designs of these kind of characters, and that was the first one I decided to make into a final character, this guy that leaps at you like this. Oops. And that animation that plays when every enemy dies is actually supposed to just be for this enemy when he dies.
Right.
But we're just using it for the
Yeah.
other enemies for right now. But we probably actually are going to use that for several enemies of this type of creature.
Yeah, I think at the beginning I think you were thinking of having unique animations of death for every enemy, but I think it's just...
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I mean, animation is a lot of work itself. Can we actually even make it up? I don't think
You
we can.
can. It's very tight, and
No,
I
it's
wouldn't...
not.
Oh, really?
It's not possible. I think it's 7 grid squares high. I think you're going to have to push me up there.
Well, no. I mean, you can jump on the right... Oh, I see what you
Well,
mean.
we can grab onto the wall.
I see
We
what
can
you're
grab on
talking
the
about.
wall.
Yeah.
We can grab
Yeah,
onto
yeah,
the
yeah.
wall, but we
You're right.
we don't actually technically have the wall ride at this
Right,
point. The
right,
wall
right.
ride is an ability that you get later on, but we have granted it to ourselves through DevTools.
Because we're cool. We're cool boys. We are cool. You are a cool boy, Joe.
So we'll need to adjust that. This room, the design of this room is, it's not going to be this at all.
Right, right.
This is one of my least favorite level designs in the game. One of my least favorite rooms. Pretty much all the rooms in the game so far are designed by me, and pretty much all the rooms in the game are not going to appear in this exact way in the final version of the game. But I did a lot of rough versions of the overall tutorial map, which is the zone that we're in, the tutorial zone. I did a lot of maps. I did probably 4 or 5 before we decided to use one of them overall to put into the game. To put into, temporarily into the game. But this room is definitely, I'm not really happy with. We're probably just going to redesign the whole thing.
But you get the idea. You know, we definitely want there to be some larger rooms, and in fact, probably a room of this size. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some camera action going on here with possible zoom out.
Yeah, maybe some zoom out, and this room is supposed to be just testing the player on all the abilities, the double jump, and just shooting and fighting enemies.
Yeah,
maybe some fixed shot. This is the final
exam.
Yeah, this is the final exam of the normal area of the tutorial. So there's not anything new to discover there. It's just teaching the player, or it's not teaching the player. It's testing the player's skill. And then we've got
this is another
empty
cooldown room
here.
really.
Yeah, this is pretty much just a cooldown room. We've got the save point over here. This is kind of a trope in Castlevania where you have the save point across the way from the boss room, and we're gonna have the save rooms marked by a door. So there'll be a door here that shows you that this is a save room, so that you know from the outside to go in there right away.
Because what's that game called? Valda's Story. That game that just threw you into boss fights with no... No...
I was going to say, yeah. So more like Castlevania Aria of Sorrow or Dawn of Sorrow or Portrait... Pretty much most Castlevania games will
they'll label the boss
They'll mark
room.
the save room.
No, they'll label the boss room, right? I don't think they label the save room.
They don't label the save room with the door?
They definitely label the boss room.
Well, I think it's important to label both.
Okay, that's fair.
But yeah, at least the boss room. You don't want to run into a boss room, without having... taking the time to save.
We should play Valda's Story again.
That was a fun game. Yeah,
that was a great game.
or we could just go back and watch ourselves. Watch ourselves play it. Go ahead. You at home.
Actually,
you watching this at home or in your car or on your phone or however you're watching.
Why are you watching this in the car?
I don't know. A lot of our viewers do watch Game Soup on the phone, though. I found out from our statistics. But we'll go over our statistics in another episode of Game Soup.
Oh yeah.
So this is going to be the boss room. So this is going to be the final test. We're gonna test. Essentially, we're going to be testing double jump. We're going to make sure that the player knows how to double jump, and it's probably going to be a charging boss, a boss that charges at you, and you need to double jump to jump over him. That's somewhat basic, but he is going to have a few more mechanics than that, including shooting bullets at you and probably some other things. Ed actually programmed the boss, but we didn't put it in here.
Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
We forgot to put it in here.
Oh, I didn't forget. I just never did it.
Well.
I forgot about the boss.
Coming soon. You'll see the boss that Ed put for...
We could slap him in here right now. I don't know how it will go.
We'll do it next time.
Okay, we'll do it next time.
We'll do it on the next one.
Yeah. And this would be the reward room or the post boss.
Yeah. So here you would probably get what we're going to call what we right now call a slam piece, which is to increase the size of your puzzle grid. So we've already increased the size of the puzzle grid to maximum using our dev tools, but you can... when you get a piece, you can increase the size of your... So, for instance, if it's 2x2, you could slam it anywhere around that 2x2 grid, the 5 squares that I'm highlighting right now, back and forth. So you would be able to pick any one of these 5 and increase the size of your You might actually be able to just pick a piece on the outside here. I don't really see why you wouldn't be able to just unlock some piece in the middle, but it doesn't. It's not very. It doesn't make strategic sense to unlock a singular piece on the outside because the only blocks that are going to fit in are single blocks like this one.
Yeah. I don't know why you would necessarily do that.
So we could probably allow the player to do that, but it's not really. It's not really advantageous to them to do it like that.
And ideally, the slot that you unlock will be a choice, an informed choice, based on some inherent property of how different blocks will work. Like, for example, blocks that are related to offense will have a distinct certain shape or type of shape.
For instance, maybe a block related to offense would be long horizontally.
Right.
So it would be maybe 5 squares long, right? For a powerful attack power puzzle piece. And then vertically, maybe we would have the health puzzle pieces.
Yeah, like
so maybe the strongest health puzzle piece would be 5 high.
But at the very least, we want to give you some incentive to build in a certain direction, because otherwise you're just choosing an arbitrary block, which feels crappy because you don't really know what you're cutting yourself off from.
You're not going to actually know ahead of time on your first playthrough of the game anyway. But after you've played through the game once, or maybe you watch a walkthrough or read some strategy on the game, you might know what to do, or you might know about how to build the character from the beginning.
And it's fine not to know in the beginning your first time, but at the very least giving you a tiny bit of guidance as far as what's going to happen when you build in a certain direction, I think is the most important
maybe
thing.
we could give the player the 5 long block that does power attacks, for instance, that does increases attack power. Mm-hmm. We could give that to them early so they understand that building horizontally is advantageous for your attack power, and building vertically is advantageous for defense. For instance, we're just using 2 basic types of stats, power and defense, for example, but it could be other things, movement speed or different kinds of attacks. Altering your attack could be vertical and everything else could be horizontal, or we're not exactly sure how we're going to design it in the end, but that's the puzzle grid system. Yeah. And this is where you would get the piece that opens up another grid square on the puzzle grid. And I believe we have one more room. Yeah, we have one more room. So this is going to be a teleportation room, which earlier in the map, we have another room set aside for teleportation. I think it's this one, the smaller one that's right in the center here.
Right now,
it's not labeled, but that might be a save room. Is it the save room? Well, we're going to have a teleportation room somewhere around there. And at this point, where we are right now, we're going to teach the player how to use the teleporters. So, because there are two destinations for the teleporter. So the first one is a mystery. You're not really sure what it is, but it activates as you run by it, and then this one activates, and then we teach the player how the teleportation system works. Because it's Metroidvania, you need teleporters. You can't just run to every place, except in Minoria, where there's only about 4 teleportation spots in the game. Is that right? Isn't that the game that had... Yeah, I'm pretty sure that one had a very limited number of teleportation spots in the game.
So I think that's about it for the gameplay aspect, right, of this devlog, unless there's anything else in particular you'd like to show.
I think we covered... I mean, no, there's a lot of stuff that we didn't cover.
But
we covered as much as we could remember to cover, and we will cover more in future episodes.
But this has been a preview, basically, of the vertical slice of the game. I'm sure we'll be showing a little bit more of this as it develops. But I'm glad that we could finally... It's been a while. I'm glad that we could get this down.
Yeah, we kept putting it off for a long time. We were going to do it, and then we would run into a bug that we had to fix, or we'd run into something that we wanted to add to the game, and then it just snowballed.
Spoilers.
For so long.
I'm not a good programmer, and it's very difficult to make a game. That one. Well, we knew that already, so. But it takes a long. It probably takes longer than it should. But man, I wish I had started coding when I was a child, a wee lad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too.
It's a very interesting way of thinking that I've never had to do in my life before.
But yeah, it's a useful skill even outside of game development. It's one of the most useful skills that you can teach yourself.
And hey, since we're all indoors these days, there's nothing better than teaching yourself how to code. So you might as well do it. Right? What else are you going to do? Sit around and watch Netflix all day? You can do that too. I mean, that's fine. But anyway, thanks for watching.
If you have any suggestions, if you have any critiques, especially constructive critiques
We should have said that
About
at the
the-
beginning.
Well, let's make this a soundbite and just clip it on.
Perfect.
Throw it on the beginning. If you have any constructive critiques, especially negative ones, about this game that we're working on, please go ahead and leave it in the comments below. You can also email us, GameSoupLP@gmail.com, if you want to do it privately. And we would really appreciate any kind of feedback that you have at all. And we thank you for that. And we like you. I like you. Ed likes you.
I like you too. Don't single me out here. I like you. I like everybody quite a lot. You're all my friends. Cool boys. We're all cool boys and girls.
All right. We'll see you in the next one.